Growing up, I was a huge Roald Dahl fan. I had all his books and loved the films there are of his work having been adapted. Matilda and Fantastic Mr. Fox are my favourites, but now I've grown up a bit and fallen out of love with most of his books. I only remain a couple on my shelf, one being Matilda, as that book is very special to me. Unfortunately, I do not have Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but Willy Wonka has become such an iconic character and part of British culture. He's close to Paddington in status. Okay, I may be exaggerating a little bit, but that brings us to a prequel story about Willy Wonka, one that Roald Dahl did not write as a book when he was alive, and not necessarily something people wanted. And while some of the lines are silly and a bit corny, which my German friend did not appreciate me reciting, the film is actually quite good. And the reason I'm making this video is because it would just miss out on my top 10 of the year, and I want to talk about it, and I can't do it because my dumbass already has an honourable mention lined up, which I forgot I'd already talked about, but oh well. Here's my review of Wonka. As we asked the question, is this film worth it? So Wonka follows a young Willy as he attempts to sell chocolate and become Wonka. Yes, that's actually how some of the marketing is for this film. In his way is the chocolate cartel of Gallery Gourmet who don't want anyone else to sell chocolate, and Wonka must overcome them if he wants to become the legend we all know him as. That is the baseline of the plot, and I think it really hits the mark, at least in line with Gene Wilder's Willy Wonka, since that's what they were going for. Not Johnny Depp's. That's a bit more tonally darker and weirder than the other two, instead of magical. Of course, they're not in the same canon, but it does serve as a nice companion piece as to what could have been Wonka's early days selling chocolate. And everyone is pretty good performance-wise in the film. The chocolate cartel are so over the top on some things, which makes them great, yet they can still be intimidating villains as they're the ones in power. They bribe police and corrupt the system to stop Wonka progressing in status. Then there's Hugh Grant as an Oompa Loompa. He gives a fantastic performance and is actually quite humorous in the role. What I was disappointed by was the fact I don't think we got nearly enough of him. And finally, Timothée Chalamet as Willy Wonka himself. He's not terrible in the role, and much better than I thought he would be based off the trailers. But his performance is nothing special or magical, but it is passable as one for what this film is, which is a heartfelt Christmas time film, portrayed in a fun way and is at the end of the day mostly aimed towards kids. However, I don't think he's very good at singing. Of course, I don't expect him to be top tier, as he's an actor, not a singer, but it is easily the most distracting part of his performance. And it doesn't also help that most of the musical numbers are very forgettable, and the best ones are the returning ones of Pure Imagination and Oompa Loompa. The film overall does look really good, and any CGI moments are pretty much flawless. There's just a couple moments where the cuts are kind of surprising in terms of how far they cut when it shouldn't be that, and a moment where he drops down from somewhere and it looks weird. The script is mostly a tight one, and to be completely honest, if you're looking for a fun, heartfelt and good film to watch over the Christmas period, perhaps with family or friends, or just some alone time to have some fun at the movies, I would definitely recommend Wonka out of all the films that are currently showing for a good time at Christmas. Like, by the time Christmas Eve rolls around, don't go watch Aquaman. This is probably going to be the much better of the Warner Brothers films that are out. But does that make the story worth it? Because people will say, no one asked for this. So what? That doesn't automatically make it bad or unnecessary. Films aren't often made because people want them, especially one like this. They're made because the writer or director wants to and feels the story is worth telling, and big franchise films are the ones made because people want them. Even then, did anyone ask for Andor? And it ended up being probably one of the better Disney Star Wars shows. As long as the end product was worth telling, it doesn't matter in my opinion. And to explore Wonka's early days and people being jealous of his chocolate leading to him closing his doors and only making chocolate behind said doors because people wanted his recipes, makes sense to see where that all began. Plus, seeing why he decided to make chocolate was interesting, and seeing him achieve his dream plays into his line from his mum. Overall, I highly recommend Wonka. I think it's a great film worth seeing for a good time at the cinema. And it doesn't do any discredit to Willy Wonka as a character. So yeah, I would say this film was worth it. It's not perfect, but it is really fairly quite good. And I don't want people to hate on it just for hating on it, because I don't think it deserves as much hate as I can see it getting. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Peace out.